So this training here is perfect for you if you want to know what you have with ideal corporate clients. When you are in any places, whether that's online, whether that's in person, whether that's on LinkedIn, when you are in contact or reaching out to a dream corporate client, the kind of client that you would be so excited to put their logo onto your website, the kind of client that you would brag about to everybody who would like to listen. Although you probably can't because you probably sign an NDA. The kind of client that would feature in your happiest dreams. If you want to know how you can turn any contact, any conversation, any connection into immediate interest and into sales conversations that then convert into amazing contracts, into amazing long-term partnerships and amazing 5 and 6 figure contracts, then you're in the right place. Because I've just come back from a huge corporate client conference, and to say that it was intense would be an understatement, because it was massive, it was huge, and we networked, we bumped into our clients, which was great because you could show that we were there to support, and that we wanted to be there with them, so that was all lovely. But what was even more exciting than that particular thing is that as it's become kind of the norm in our business, whenever we go to an event, we came away with several, not just one, but several connections who said to us, "Oh, we really want to talk to you. We really want to know more about what you do. Can we have a conversation about how you possibly can help us?" And that's just the best feeling, right? Because I know some people are not that keen on the networking side, and that's fine. You don't have to, because what I'm going to talk about works whether you do it in networking or in other situations. But there is a reality that when you go to events, there is an energy cost. Never mind, maybe a cost around traveling or taking time out of your day, but there is an energy cost. And yet when you have that immediate confirmation that people are excited to hear about your work, that they want to know more, that just floods you with energy. That just pumps me up so much. So I really wanted to jump in here today to do this Impromptu Live so that we can talk about how we are averaging 3, 4 high value connections that then turn into real tangible opportunities at every single event that we go to. And it doesn't matter whether this is a huge event. The one that we went to today apparently had 50,000 registrations, which are like mind-blowing. I don't think there were 50,000 people there, but there were definitely a huge number of people there. And or whether it's a tiny event. We went to one not long ago and there was maybe 30 people in the room, and that's fine too, because the method, the approach, the way of thinking that I'm going to share with you here now works in any of these situations, and it works in all your other communications as well. It underpins every single thing that you do in your business to attract corporate clients. So I wanted to jump in here and talk about the one thing that we are so focused on and that we have turned into an art of communicating, and that is how we not just position and message our offer, but how we target that, how we make it speak in such a way that we create a buying now code. We've literally taken our knowledge and put it into a code, into a framework, into an approach that we can use time after time after time, that we can use every single time we are in contact with corporate clients. And I love it that it's a code, because it allows us, on the one hand, to have very, very predictable results. As I say, I would be shocked these days if I went to an event and did not come away with at least 3-4 high value opportunities, that turn into very tangible opportunities within days or weeks. I would be literally shocked. I would think like I've done something very wrong, gone to the very wrong event. And that is what having a code really does for you. But what is even more beautiful is it's not just a code that delivers these kind of predictable, reliable results, but it's also a code that is highly flexible and highly adaptable to different situations, to different client needs, to different formats. I talk about the networking aside, but I know we use exactly the same thing in our messaging, in our outreach, in our emails, in our follow-ups. We use it all the time. And this code, the buying now code, is really underpins our success and why our business has so exploded, particularly over the last few months. So I want to jump in and actually give you some highly specific advice around that. So not just generically say, oh, speak to people's pain points, because if you're anything like me, and in my early days when I heard coaches talk about that, speak to corporate pain points, what's keeping them awake at night, you go like, yeah, okay, so how do I do that? And you might do some research, and you might read some of the relevant industry publications, or read things like Forbes or Harvard Business Review, and they tell you the pain points. They do, and it's valuable, don't get me wrong. I highly recommend. I tell all my students that is something that they must do. They must do that level of the pain point research. But to get the kind of results that we are seeing, you need to go further. You can't stay at just level. You need to get micro specific. You need to really understand how you can speak to the micro-specific, not the generic, but the micro-specific high value priorities that the person who's in front of you, or the person who's at the other end of the email, or the person whose LinkedIn profile you're looking at and you're about to send them a DM, you need to understand what their micro-specific high value priorities are at this particular time. And that is not about guessing, and that is not about keeping it at a generic high level. So too many of people, I say, they look at leaders and treat them all the same. They say like, oh yes, leaders want to look after the people, so they're worried about, say, attrition, or they're worried about their people burning out or going off with stress. And that's fine. That is true at one level. But when you want to get that kind of immediate response that we're seeing in our business, and that my clients are seeing in their business the moment they switch their approach to the buy now code, that you need to go much deeper into that. So I've actually created, and a post will come out with all of this, but I created a little example, so I will look at this right now. So for example, I see far too many leadership, empowerment type coaches, executive coaches, saying things such as to say like, oh, I'm a coach specializing in your industries, and I offer workshops on effective communication, team motivation, and strategic thinking designed to enhance leadership qualities or capabilities even. And that's, sounds okay on the surface of, sounds all right, but it does not get to the highly specific, highly tangible, highly urgent, high value priority need that your audience has, because they are different each time. And what you want to do is you want to use analytical tools, and in Corporate Offers at Sell, my signature program, we go into quite a number of these analytical tools, but you can also Google them. We go in depth in them. We use a specific analytical process, specific analytical tools that let you understand what does this particular leader, what are their high value priorities as opposed to that particular leader. And I know it sounds complicated, but actually it isn't, because when you use the right tools, when you've got a good process down, then you can really hone in on each individual person without having to reinvent the wheel. So let's take the example, that leadership coach that I just gave you. So instead of them making this generic announcement that they work in somebody's industry, you speak to the particular issues that this person might have. That might be missing product launches, deadlines, or friction in the product department. Now, those kind of specific needs are much more persuasive when you talk to that, and when you have that conversation with a leader talking about, yes, I know what it feels like when your team is working flat out and yet still they seem to be either missing the product launch or going so close to the wire that everybody is really burned out at the end of it. When you're phrasing your work in that kind of context, you get the other person, you get your audience, you get that leader to immediately lean in and go like, yeah, this person gets me. This person understands what it is like. And then you can position, you can show. It's not even about, like making up a position. It's you just connect the dots for them, where you show how your work very specifically helps them address that particular problem, where they really can see, and they can not just see it logically, but they can also emotionally see, feel it, how your work will take away that pressure, because you can connect the dots. You can tell them that when they work with you and they enhance not their own leadership capabilities but also those of their team, that all in a sudden they will be able to spot potential risks or spot potential bottlenecks much earlier, because they have improved their communication. And that means it takes some out of the pressure out of that system in leading up to the product launch, so that they can collaborate in a much more effective way, and that they can be confident when they communicate to their stakeholders about the product launch. They can present with confidence that they will meet the deadline, that they will please the customer, that they will not all be burned out wrecks at the end of it. And it is that kind of articulation. It goes beyond messaging, because it's not marketing messaging, but it's an articulation of your deep understanding of your audience, that it makes all the difference. And the moment you master this, you move from trying to open doors with your offer to letting your offer do the heavy lifting. Why do I say your offer? Why I'm not saying your marketing? Well, because it's without having an offer that is truly aligned, that speaks to all of these points, and that gives you the direct linkage, the direct connecting of those dots. When you don't have that, you cannot create the right messaging. You cannot create the right positioning around that, because without having that foundation of the offer, where every single component of what you can offer speaks to the high value priorities, without that, any messaging, any positioning will just be generic blurb. It will just be the kind of blurb that you see on websites when they say, no, let us solve your people problem. Or, oh, my work helps you reduce stress and retain staff. I'm like, yeah, but does it really? So you don't want to have that kind of generic messaging. You want to create that emotional connection that allows your audience to connect both on a logical level as well as on that more emotional level. So when you want to do that work on a deeper level with me, then the right place for you is to come and hop into Corporate Office That Sells, and we'll be running some live workshops this coming month. We're not quite in May yet, and there are special bonuses and a very, very special offer for this bank holiday weekend. So make sure that you drop offers below this post, and I can't wait to see you in all the places. Bye, loves.